I'm going to call this meeting to order. If I could ask everybody to please stand for the pledge of allegiance. The flag is located above the mic. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Chris Buckman.
Here.
Carol Hadorn.
Here.
Larry Mangan.
Here.
Jason Newberry.
Here.
Dana Garver. Here. Tom Henning.
Here.
Pat Zika.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Recognition of patrons and staff. Anybody sign up? Okay. That was kind of the reason for the change of venue tonight, was to try to accommodate some of the crowds that we've had, give it a little more spacing. But I love the venue. It's
I
awesome.
stadium
seating. It's great, yeah.
It
This
is, yeah.
Our
It's
backs
nice.
aren't to the audience.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That's so nice.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on, first discussion item is a technology presentation by Dr. Kern.
Okay, Ryan Ewing is helping with this presentation. And okay, yeah. So we are going to talk to you a little bit, give you some information about where we are with technology management. We have been in a 5-year contract with K-12 ITC, and they manage our technology for us from a distance from Kansas City. And we are at the end of that contract and need to make a decision whether we're going to renew that contract for 5 years, or maybe just do a 1 year and decide after that time. So basically the purpose of this presentation is to decide if we want to sign another contract with K-12 ITC, and would it benefit the district for us to own some of the tech equipment and give us a little bit more flexibility in the future. So when K-12 came to help our district out, they replaced all of our equipment with theirs, so they own that equipment. So what do they do for us? They answer support questions, they manage and host student and staff, the network accounts, the voice over phone line, which is internet phone. They virtually oversee our network. They provide and maintain network servers, equipment. They help us with our printing, our virtual printing, filtering. They provide a backup of our files, and they support our wireless network. So currently we have 3 tech guys physically on site, and they are still always busy, and and since we started with K-12, we've gone to one-to-one Chromebooks, so they are constantly, working on those, fixing those. They troubleshoot network hardware, user devices, printers, copiers. They do a ton. So, and they also work with the vendors. Ryan here has lots of vendors that he gets quotes for us on and helps us to get the best deals for projectors and cameras and licensing. And they all support software in the district. We have Clever that helps us to get into our programs without even logging in with using passwords, so the little ones can get in a lot easier. And online curriculum, Guardian, on and on. I'm sure Ryan can tell you a million more things. So this is just touching on some of the things that they do. And that is all of us in the tech department. And Weston and Ryan are here tonight. So like I said before, currently K-12 owns the hardware technology. They don't own our Chromebooks or interactive projectors, but they own a lot of the network equipment that they put in. So we have a 5-year contract with them that ends at the end of March. And in our agreement, we need to let them know by December 30th if we want to renew that contract. And basically, according to our technology survey, which I've given each of you a copy of that, and so I didn't want to take you on, somebody didn't.
I didn't get it, but that's okay.
According to the survey, our teachers really, really like that face-to-face support, and it's not that K-12 isn't doing their job, it's just that they really, like troubleshooting on site, and it's hard for them to be on the phone with someone when they have a passion for kids. So that is the main piece of information that came out of that survey, is that they really miss that part. So our proposal is that we have a couple of options here. That we either notify K-12 that we don't want to continue the contract as is, and maybe modify that contract a little bit. Or number 2, continue looking at options going forward, including the possibility of negotiating a new contract with K-12 for an additional 1 to 5 years, as well as looking at other service options if the district's unable to come to a mutual agreement. So right now, with K-12, we have the Cadillac version, so we get everything that they have to offer. And what we would like to negotiate is maybe just the things that we really need from them, and maybe that would be enough. So.
Well,
Our contract ends December 30th or
Kind of crunch time.
March.
They want us to let them do it.
Ends in March, but we gotta decide.
I don't know if so many of the faculty understand how it used to be, and of course, that's used to be, because we do have more on our staff in our technology department than when I was in the district. But they want more hands-on, but they can be overwhelmed with, and it can take a while, and people are not, they're upset with K-12, but I just don't want our people to be overwhelmed.
What I'm hearing is that when there is an issue, our staff has to go through K through 12 and can't do anything until K through 12 says it. Like I don't know, like what's in the contract, like
So-
our staff is completely capable of fixing it, but they're unable to because we have to do it through K through 12. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know if it's true or not.
I would say it depends on the problem. Some of there still are, especially like for typical classroom problems that we run into. There's a lot of it that we still can help a user. The system that the district has in place, I mean, they're really supposed to put in the ticket with K-12 first, and then if they're not able to resolve it, then they pass it to us. I mean, there are times, of course, that the guys will be walking in a classroom and a teacher brings up something and they fix it. I mean, we try to use some common sense as well, but that isn't completely inaccurate. I mean, there are issues that there is a piece that K-12 has administrative access to that we don't locally, and in that case, we would actually have to put in a ticket. I mean, if we're working with the end user to, troubleshoot something, we might have to put in a ticket with K-12 to like ask a question of, or change a network port or something like that. So, I mean, that's kind of, it kind of goes on both sides. I mean, there still is a lot that we can do even without contacting them. It just kind of depends on the exact issue.
Pat, did you?
What do you guys think about handling it if we change to something?
Well,
You guys are the
and,
ones that are gonna be overwhelmed or whatever.
the other thing that I'll mention, and I think that Jen had talked to Adam, and when did we have that, Jen, on the schedule for the?
Well, actually, they haven't gotten the invitation yet.
Okay, I think that we're going to talk about some of this in a little bit more detail at like a work session in the future. One of the things that I'm a little hesitant to talk about a lot of detail just in an open session like this, just because we are negotiating, with them and, working with pricing and contract and other vendors. So since this is this is viewable by anyone in the public, including K-12, I don't want to show our hand too much, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to share that with you in the future.
So you said you are talking to other vendors that do this, like to compare? I mean, there's other companies that do this?
We, actually, there's really not that do the exact same thing. So, we looked at some of the things that, some of the bigger things that are important to us. And, we've also, found some vendors that can help us with some different things, which also helps us with negotiations.
So Ryan, you and I made the trip to Kansas City to see the facility. There was a lot of moving parts going on in the district at the time that decision was made. One-to-one was one of the big things that we had on the horizon. VoIP phones, I believe, that changeover happened about that same time. So there's a lot of pieces there that, big lifts for an IT department of 3 people to pull off. So I think that kind of weighed into the decision a little bit. So looking back now, 5 years, has it been a good relationship, a bad relationship?
You mean
I'm
with
sure there's
us?
gonna be pros and cons.
Yeah, with us in K-12, you mean?
Yeah.
It's been, there's certainly been times that it's been, frustrations, especially in that first year and a half, it was pretty rough. We've kind of put that in the back of our mind now, but, there are some times there and, it's, as far as like dealing with their techs, it's not that I really haven't had any major issues with, dealing with a certain tech. Sometimes you'll hit somebody who is very helpful and sometimes not.
Right. But like the ticket piece that you mentioned, that's important that those tickets are created because that's justification for maybe adding additional staff. If you have more tickets being submitted, maybe that just needs to be kind of reiterated that those tickets need to be submitted. On the face-to-face piece, I'm kind of curious your thoughts on that. Most IT people would just leave remote to that computer and be done.
Oh, yeah. I think most of the users, even when they say face-to-face, sometimes I think they just mean, either talking with us, even via email or phone or whatever, but then, somebody actually coming out and physically, helping or doing an issue. Because I certainly do help a lot of people remote also. We just try to do whatever makes the most sense and is the most efficient, as far as that goes on face-to-face.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other questions?
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, we're coming off a 5-year contract. Are we coming off of before that, did we have K-12 or what did we have before?
We didn't have anything.
Okay.
In-house only, really.
Yeah, before that, it was just, everything was in-house, like the district owned every piece of hardware, software. We ran our own, Active Directory, file server, backups. All that kind of stuff was in-house.
correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but when K-12 came in, they went Cisco pretty much tip to tip, right?
And we were actually, they went specifically Meraki, which is a sub of Cisco. And before that, we were actually a Cisco house as well.
Are we talking saving money, spending more money?
So I'm looking at these comments, and it looks like they have a problem, K-12 have a problem answering the tickets. This one says, K-12 says they fix things, but they don't get fixed, and they tell me to put in another ticket. This one says, I put in a ticket with K-12 my first year teaching and never received adequate assistance, so I have never tried again. You know, so something tells me that when they put in a ticket, they're not getting a response, and then they just call you, Ryan.
Yeah,
And then you get it fixed, so.
and that does,
I'm having a problem with the ticket.
that does happen, I mean, sometimes, and, you know, like Jason mentioned, I mean, and K-12 actually just recently reached out and said, you know, well, maybe we need to come down on one of your in-services and, you know, send some people to go over the ticketing system and how to put it in. And we do also have a customer experience rep, I think is what they call it from there, that is just started meeting with me recently once a month, and it's basically supposed to be a deal where if we're having issues with something, we can elevate a ticket, you know, or get something, you know, looked at to try to provide, you know, better information. And I mean, I told them, I mean, that's as far as K-12, you know, if they want to make some changes to try to improve the ticketing system, I mean, obviously we're all for that becoming better than it is. But yeah, I mean, I would say that that's kind of what we mentioned is that's what we were kind of seeing was just some user frustration with kind of ticketing system, whether that was that there was issues with it back then and or they hit a bad rep or something, you know, it's hard to tell exactly what the circumstance was, but yeah.
Any other questions? Judging from what Jen and Ryan were both saying, it doesn't sound like this is the last time we're gonna talk about this.
No.
I mean,
No.
we're just getting started on this.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what Jen had talked about during the speech and is, so we have the current contract, we do need to contact them if, I mean, if we don't contact them, we're basically, you know, saying that we want to continue on.
for 5 years?
Is it,
Yeah, we need to let them know if we're not gonna.
if we're not doing
So it
it.
auto renews for another 5 if we don't let them know.
And so,
In December,
So in December, we have to let them know.
that's the latest that we have, yeah.
90 days ahead of time.
Could we do 1 year? Will they accept that?
And that's what we're
That's what we're negotiating.
we're kind of trying to talk with them, to try to find out. We had a bunch of questions to them and, we're trying to get more detailed responses, I'll say, back from them. They responded, but it really wasn't very detailed, so.
We'd like to know more options of what we could have with K-12 if it wasn't the full.
So, Ryan, this may be a little bit more of a deeper dive than what we want to do during a board meeting, but so would there be an option of us basically buying out their equipment so you guys aren't looking at re-racking
Yeah,
all
so,
these switches and routers and
we can, I don't know what they would charge for that. It is 5-year-old equipment at this point.
true.
yeah.
And so we could still get by with it for probably another year or two if we really had to. But we really do probably need to look at the rotation, the natural rotation on it. Kind of some of the options that we have been looking at without giving away too much is, I mean, just the option of like for network switches and access points, like possibly the district owning those again themselves, even if they are managed by, you know, or help being managed by another company, we would at least own that equipment.
But K-12's not interested in doing that, right? They want to own the equipment if they're going to manage the equipment.
They want to make the most amount of money that they can.
Sure,
I mean, kind of is their deal. So, I mean, yeah, on the contract, I mean, obviously they wanna do a 5-year if we will, they wanna, own all the equipment still if we're willing to do that. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at, but, and, our suggestion would be to notify them that we're at least not interested in automatically renewing. I think it would be smarter to, at the very least, renegotiate a contract, with them. But that's not really doing anything other than saying, I mean, we could still go with them, but it just leaves our options open and doesn't lock us in just to them. Makes it more flexible.
When do you think you can have more information to this subject? You think you'll have anything by
This
December?
weekend,
By
we should have more this week.
Yeah. They're supposed to meet with us, this week later, and hopefully we can get more.
And that way, on December 30th, we can say, hey, we're looking at renegotiating because we've got till March before, right?
Well, it's really just December 30th, they'll be here just
We
until
got
December 30th, right?
Make a decision.
December, we need to let them know if we're not gonna do 5 years.
Okay.
I mean, we could do a special board meeting if we
Yeah.
needed to get
I
something.
think we're gonna have some discussion of this planning session coming up, so keep this discussion.
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot of moving parts. that-
Sure.
No, there is.
Not a hand.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. So,
So say you don't go, you decide you don't wanna, they won't negotiate and they don't say to me, come March, I think we're done, I mean, we won't have anything or.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's a rough,
It's really complicated.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay.
Because we're next too.
Oh, you're next year? Yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
we are.
Next thing, yep. E-gaming presentation, all right.
so, I had given you some information and we had a presentation on esports. And we were talking about doing that for the middle school and the high school so that they would have another option, or an extracurricular activity there. And, I sent out a survey, which just actually was done today, and out of 500 respondents from middle school and high school together, we had 250 that were interested. So we had a lot of interest, and so about 125 at each school. So I would like to see if the board is interested in moving forward with esports. And from here, we can start looking at equipment, hire a coach, and prepare ourselves for a season in the fall. And esports would have a fall season and a spring season. So if, kids were wanting to do another sport in the fall and maybe do this in the spring or vice versa, it gives them just a little bit more flexibility. And on the survey, when I asked them, how many would be interested in the fall and spring, it was 50-50 as well. So
Are there 2 pages to this, or just one?
You're just one.
Okay.
Yeah. And and that particular question I didn't get on there, but it was 50-50 also.
So I've got a question. I was still a little bit confused during the presentation. I was trying to grasp, it sounded like they offered a curriculum and an extracurricular activity.
Okay, yes.
So I was really confused as far as the extracurricular. Does that take place after school or is that in the classroom? Because they were talking about queuing up in the classroom to play other schools. So,
This would be after school,
okay,
and then our CTE teachers are discussing adding this as a curriculum, but haven't gotten very far on that yet, so I'm not sure if that would happen in the fall, but it could eventually become a class as well.
so with the 125 students that said, yes, they might be interested, some of those aren't gonna be able to if they're already playing some other sport that contributes to that. So we're not gonna be slammed with 125 kids that want to be
Probably
a part
not.
of esports.
Yeah,
And they understood that it was either or, as far as, they didn't say, yes, I like it, I'd play, not
Right.
realizing they couldn't
right,
play.
and the
basketball.
question was, if we were to have esports, would would you be interested? I believe that's how I put it on there. And just a yes or no.
So that's a good question, Beth. I mean, can you suit up for both? I mean, could you
Yeah,
be,
did they
could you be
understand
on the
that?
basketball team and be on the esports team?
Not if it's after school, they go to practice.
It'd probably be during practice, it would be.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean, did they know that that's,
Right,
that?
right.
I said yes, but I didn't understand that I couldn't play basketball.
Oh, and do
You
both.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did they understand that?
Probably, I mean, that wasn't explained in the.
But it still shows interest.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
still
and that's what
shows,
we were trying to get, was interest.
Yeah.
It's not that, we really expect to have 125
yeah, we really
kids.
don't want that many anyway,
Yeah.
but.
Right.
Is it a middle school thing or a high school thing, or
Both.
is there, so there's two things, basically?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So one, you could have one at the middle school, one at the high school.
Yes,
Are you looking at doing both out of the gate?
yes.
I kind of asked the question, but I didn't really feel like I got an answer. What's the what's the startup cost? Not for you,
so-
but when I was asking him, I didn't feel like.
Yeah, so we did get some bids,
Yeah, I
we just
saw
got
that.
one bid,
Yeah.
and it was the top of the line. So for both of those classrooms, it would be like 100,000, but we haven't looked at other bids.
So about 50
Yeah.
each, right?
And I mean, it can really, kind of like what they talked about at that presentation, I think you can really scale it however the district wanted to. If you didn't have any money to spend, there's a few games that you can still participate in, or a few, yeah. So it really kind of, I mean, I think that depending on the budget that we have, we can make just about, I mean, we can build, machines and a program to meet whatever budget, we need to meet. Obviously, if we have funds available, that we can use, I mean, it makes sense to use them, but.
So the $100,000 estimate, what was that scaled to? Was that scaled to 10 kids, 5 kids, 50
That
kids?
was
16 machines, I believe, right?
Okay.
8
I think,
per school.
I think we got
So
some
8 people
bids
could
on
be
those, right?
Yeah, there is.
They're in there, that's right, okay,
Yeah.
that's right.
And those, I mean, obviously those machines can be, I mean, that was just kind of a machine. It was a pretty high-end
Yeah,
machine.
yeah.
It should be good for years, many years to come.
And that
But
was desk and chairs.
yeah,
Yeah.
Headsets.
Yeah.
and-
Licenses.
So if we wanted to save on,
Yeah.
chairs or
There's-
something like that.
yeah, there's tons of options on how to outfit the group for sure. And I mean, some of that would depend on what room, they were set up in, if they even needed the desk and stuff, but.
Any thought of building machines, having the kids participate on building machines?
No, I mean, that's certainly something that we can do. So there's a couple
It's a
of,
good skill set.
yep, there's a couple of manufacturers that specifically have like package specials. Some of the challenge right now, in particular, when you're talking about individual parts to get it, video cards are
I
really
was
rough
getting
to
ready to
get.
ask you that question.
So, that might be the only thing, and we could certainly look into it, but that might be the one part that we have trouble actually getting the actual individual part. But I do think that that's a great idea.
Probably a graphic card.
Graphics cards are impossible to find.
Yeah, that's what we're saying,
Can't
yeah.
find them.
Yeah.
Trying to get a graphics card.
It's rough.
It's tough.
But yeah, for the complete systems, for whatever reason, we can still get some of those. I mean, that is something we would definitely have to see how quickly we could get them. But we got some recently for like Steve Sturgis's class that were a little bit higher in machines, and so I mean, we did actually get those in.
So
How
if
long
you,
did it take to get them in?
I think it was still months, but yeah, I mean, it at least, it wasn't like the projectors were, it was like 9 months or that, it was a couple months.
Pat, did you have a question?
I did,
That's cool.
yes. Oh, if you said 8 stations, I can't find that report somewhere, but anyway, so I didn't see it. You said 8 stations, does that mean 8 people can, just for 8 people, or, you need a station for every person
It would,
that's on the team or whatever you call it?
it would depend on what what game they sign up for, depending on if they would actually need one of the like super high-end, gaming machines or not. Not all the games require that. It would also, I think they talked about this a little bit, but you would schedule possibly, the kids to use it at different times. I mean, the systems and everything. The matches would certainly be at different times.
So you could have 24 gamers, but it's just in 3 different sessions.
Yeah, exactly.
So a certain game would be on a certain night of practice and.
So you wouldn't go to practice every night, or you wouldn't go every night?
They would go every night, they just wouldn't all be on the machine at the same time, or they wouldn't actually have to practice on probably the fast machine.
And some of the practice, and I mean, we'd have to see on the coaches. I mean, I'm not gonna pretend to be an esports coach, but some of it would also be like more, looking up strategy and, strategizing different things. I mean, not necessarily playing the game. I mean, kind of like when you're practicing basketball, you might be just working on, a shot or something instead of actually playing a full scrimmage, each time. But
Do you have anybody who's interested in coaching? Have you heard?
Yeah, I think there are a couple people in the district in the past that have expressed interest, I think, in being involved, so.
You have space?
Yeah, they've got space.
Yes.
Where are you gonna put this?
Yeah, we found a couple of classrooms, one in the high school, Renee Case's room. And she had offered to kind of move some things around in their area and use that room. And then at the middle school, they have a space there that they use for, is it STEM stuff? So it's empty a lot anyway, so.
And that would kind of lend to the possibility of multi-purposing these machines. So you can maybe use them, in this case, you can maybe use them in our classroom.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the only thing we've kind of had discussion on that I think we just need to be mindful of is, they are, I mean, depending on what we go with, they are very expensive machines. It certainly is a room that I think would not be a bad idea to have a camera in the room. Also looking at like maybe using like security screws and some stuff, but it's just it just makes me, I mean, we've had kids obviously that have damaged just our regular machines, pulling the CD-ROM drive or, just stuff like that, putting the paper clip in the power supply or, I just wouldn't want to see that on these, break your heart, but.
I kind of look at this kind of like a basketball or a football thing. They just don't go get to use the football guys and stuff. So this is kind of
I mean, I don't think that, I mean, in a certain setup and whatever, I think it could be planned to where they could possibly be used a little bit, but you would certainly want to keep a very close eye, in my opinion, on it.
What's the possibility of grants on this?
There are quite a few opportunities for grants and stuff for esports. I mean, that definitely is something that we can look at.
So we have a high school coach and a middle school coach? Okay.
They just probably should go on simultaneously.
Okay.
So we need a vote on moving forward with this at least, or
Can, it's in a discussion item, but we can do a vote.
does it need a vote or we vote when?
Well, I don't think it really needs a vote because we're pursuing it and
Essentially, if you want us to pursue, we would probably get quotes on actual technology and bring that back and then have the board approve that.
So you just need a consensus right now.
Pretty much.
I'm good for it.
I'm okay with
What's what, I'm sorry, I was trying to, I was
Consensus.
having a technology meeting here.
the consensus
Any other
to proceed.
discussion or debate?
I think we should pursue it.
I mean, we're not approved.
Okay. I think you got it. We'll do the marching order.
Okay, so we'll start tackling that area.
Okay, I'm just thinking we move a little bit too fast, is what I'm thinking myself, that we should, I certainly am not approving it, but.
Nobody approved it.
Nobody
No,
approved
I know,
we're just
yeah,
gonna go
I'm
get
just-
bids.
We're just gathering more information. I mean, if it's something that the board definitely doesn't want to move forward with, then
I think it's a great opportunity for the kids who are not really interested in sports, but want to have something to do to feel involved and in their activities
Yeah,
in
that part
school
I think
to
is great,
feel
yeah.
a part of the school. I think it's an amazing idea. Not every kid wants to play basketball with a team. So
That's
we
the
need to
part I
offer
like
support
about
for
it.
the kids.
Where would the money come, what money would we use?
Probably be out of general fund, I'd say.
Or esports, yeah. Yeah, general or supplemental, most of our technology has supplemental right now. So,
$100,000.
Any other discussion? Okay, we're gonna move on then. Next item is the energy audit.
stay there.
Okay, we're not
We're not on energy,
we're not.
we're on.
Oh, no, we
No,
didn't
we
put that next.
No, we should.
Oh, we're on the energy audit, sorry. I was on Chromebooks, but everybody
You
else
read
was
ahead that far.
on another page.
I thought, okay, maybe I should just mess that. No big deal.
I probably
You're
should
so
have
nice,
understood.
Jason, you just said, no, I don't think so.
So are we on the energy audit?
We are on the energy audit. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so, the board's been in discussions with Brad Ray and ESP. They've been to give initial presentation, then last month came back with their energy analysis of WHS. We got that to the board. And essentially, if the board is interested in moving forward further with that, then we would be asking for an investment grade audit from them to give a deeper dive into the district, across the district, not just high school. And so that's been kind of a board discussion for several months, and so that is just up for discussion based off of what you heard last month. Last month, you also got into some discussion about some of the district controls and some of the things. Mike Cliffman is here this evening. He has been working on district HVAC for the last couple of years for us. It's been really great to save the district a lot of money being in his position, and so he has more knowledge of what we have currently than anybody, and so he came and spoke to Tom and Larry in the facilities committee last week, and so he's also available for any questions anybody has as well. So just open for discussion.
Can you guys kind of share what you guys learned?
With
Yeah, what
my,
you guys,
just that there's, the controls, particularly in this building, we need to get a good handle on it. We've been struggling with that for 20 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a kind of a history of that, because I was here at the time whenever we were dealing with all that. We had some miserable basketball game nights where the kids were running up and down the floor and it was like 100 degrees in the gym and it was crazy. So the district went into a contract with a company called BCS in the past. During that time, BCS came in and they did a good job of switching out some of the controls at some of our elementaries and part of the middle school. That works pretty well. However, here at the high school, we had old Automated Logic was the company controls. BCS, unfortunately, at the time came in and tried to, instead of putting their own controls on there, decided to run their system through the Automated Logic controls, and they did not talk to each other, and that's what caused all these problems for a long time. So the district ended up having to go back to Automated Logic to make all that work and fix that. So we have multiple controls running around the district, and Mike's been working on some stuff that's more connected to him and in-house. So, yeah, sorry, I'm saying the whole spiel.
No, I'm done. No, on BCS side, we've got some new program. They're finishing up right, and we'll pretty much have it done, and where we can use it off our phones to control different areas of different schools. But, and then we're looking at for elementary schools that are not on BCS that do not have real controls to the systems. They're not really that fancy, you might say. Basically just household package units on the road. So we're looking at some thermostats that we can control through the cloud, just all grouped in one place. Be able to have emails, alerts sent out to one of us to say, hey, I'm not keeping up, but something's wrong.
so we have two separate companies
We do, and
they
we
control.
really like automated logic, and I like where BCS is going with the new program. Just gotta get in there and use it a little bit more to see how we really like it. But I know when they first came, that it was just horrible.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah, and they tried, but they totally scrapped it and rewrite it.
Can we go to just one, or what would that be?
I think Mike got, bids on like automated logic to,
Mike's
get them in all the schools. And so yeah, that's certainly, we can do that. I'm not familiar with the numbers, so.
Is that something you would, you'd think would be a good idea, or?
Excuse
Do
me.
you think it'd be a good idea to have the same company running?
Yes, I mean, it'd be handier just to have one program versus two, but then again, if you have one company go down or whatever, then you still have the other schools that are still up and running, so.
So Adam, what's our current relationship with BCS? Are we a pay-to-play type relationship right now? Are we under contract?
The original contract has been done for quite a few years.
Right.
Yeah, they're separate buildings, so you could have two systems.
I remember kind of asking them gentlemen some pointed questions because what he referenced as far as being able to control these units on our phone was one of the selling points that they told us the day one they presented. And it never, it's funny that you're saying now, how many years down the road that we may be getting there now.
And really, that's, what's coming down the pipe here is all things Ryan, because he really got it going for us, because I kind of explained to him the problem we were having. And, he was cool with it, so.
That
They
still
were
doesn't,
originally wanting to charge, a bunch more money for this new like software update, and, it's like, wait a minute, this has never worked like it's done.
Yeah, their selling point was that an administrator of a building would be able to know if a thermostat was adjusted in a particular room.
It was
Never happened.
FinStack was the name of that one,
Yep.
that was a flaw.
Yep.
Yeah, hopefully this new system they agreed to put in free of charge, the upgrade and everything, because of all the issues they've had, so.
When's that supposed to come in? Because I'm looking, and I've said it since I've been on this board for 2 years, the electricity at the high school is 35,000. This month it was, or last month it was 35,000. So when are we gonna get a handle on this electricity use? You're telling me it's all on controls. It can't be all on controls. There's gotta be something else in this high school that's draining electricity like it is. Because 50% of the electricity is in this high school out of this district. So you've been around. What do you think is causing us to have $35,000 every month? And in the month of July of last year, we were at 35,000, and that was the highest month, and we didn't have any school.
Thermostats.
There's gotta be something else.
Well, the temperature in the rooms, like in the summertime, we need to vary it more. This year was kind of a weird year, not all the rooms got switched out to, set back to higher temperature. Because there was school in, some school going on and everything, so, and they didn't really know which rooms were going to be used at the time, so we kind of went through where the whole school was just.
So when is they supposed to get the program in for?
It's pretty much, other than the tablet, being able to use it on
Do you
tablet
have
or.
it estimated?
I have it on my computer at shop right now, so we can use it. One of the things I want to go around and talk with the principals and get a feel for temperature range that we could be within,
Do you have an estimated date?
I would say within a month.
But you said you can control it right now from your computer at your shop?
Yeah.
So you have those controls already?
Yeah, we have it on our laptops. Problem with the laptops is like, we have to be tied into the, internet.
The school network, sure.
And like for either I could come plug in here or pick up Wi-Fi around one of the schools. But I'd have no way out of the shop to be able to do that, or at home to do that, so we're getting it on the phones. I think Ryan said there's a ticket in with K-12.
Yeah, there's two different pieces. One of them is like a more professional piece for them to like do a lot more controls on the system, and then one of them is a lot more basic, which is the one that they would access from the phone, but like Mike was saying, I mean, if they're troubleshooting something, they'd be able to go into the phone and look at, basic information on it. It's not the one that they would use to do hardcore programming on.
And that's the BCS side of it, or the?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Both of those programs, BCS basically has two different programs that they have. One of them would be that they would access on the phone to do basic stuff, and the other one is a lot more advanced. And yeah, the advanced one they have access to now, and that's how we go.
So
So we don't,
BCS has to communicate with K-12, is that what you're saying?
Well,
To get into their,
to get the phone one going, since it's through K-12 and the network, like, all the firewall rules and stuff have to go to K-12 for them to open, so.
and we're negotiating with K-12, so what, did that do anything?
It doesn't, no, it doesn't really apply.
Because if we go with a different company, if we go for another
It would all be
it all has to come together.
Yeah. So,
Was our electricity down the year we didn't have school?
So,
Maybe,
That's a little
maybe,
bit
I'm just
some
curious.
is not
Right.
much. So we
That's
don't,
what
We
I'm
should,
saying, it's
yeah, we
some-
should.
something else besides control.
so
And
we
that's
don't,
why, I'm sorry.
no, well, we don't have Wi-Fi out of the shop.
No, not out of our shop, because we have
they have a wired connection.
wired connection,
And they can, we've got it to where they can plug in
in
and,
which I just got my computer set up Friday, so.
Okay,
They had to get us a new router,
yeah.
so. We're going.
Well, I'm kind of like Chris, the bills are extraordinary,
they always have been,
but that
That's
doesn't,
what I'm saying,
and that doesn't mean that it's okay.
right,
Yeah, there's something else
Yeah,
involved. And
when we're not using the basketball courts, it needs to be way down there. The temperature needs to be way down.
yeah, well, since you said basketball courts, they, in this report, they're saying that they can look at something to get the humidity on the court, which would help
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of like, when I'm looking at this ESP, they're giving a lot of more information. And I would like to pursue it a little bit further, because to me, it's more than just programming a thermostat or having it on your phone. Because $35,000, and as they say in this report, we're at $2 per square foot or whatever, I think it was square foot, sorry. To 96 on an average.
Yeah.
So we're $1.10 more, and that's more than just a thermostat.
Right.
so I agree with Chris, we need to address that problem, but I'm not convinced that these guys are the ones we wanna do the deal with. They're saying 726,000 to 1.5 million, and they get 15 to 20%. I mean, this is what they do, they come in and they point out problems that you got, and then they start replacing everything, and it does add up to 1.5 million, and they get 20%. We've seen it before, this is like the third or fourth one we've seen
Yeah.
before,
Exactly.
and I'm just not
And-
convinced that these are.
And we haven't been happy with the ones we've had before.
No.
And we still do, so we're gonna use the same ones that have been dealing with this before.
I mean BCS.
Yeah.
We're not
And
using it.
then we keep going day by day. So what does that accomplish?
Well, I guess I'm hopeful that Michael somehow find the magic
We're
formula.
learning every day, so, in fact, I have class in the morning.
But replacing all the, the heating and air in this building, that's not necessarily gonna fix anything,
No, not exactly, no. I mean, some of the equipment started to get up there in age, like middle school, looked at sort of 12 to 17 years on it. Lincoln's got 17-year-old equipment. I mean, all the equipment throughout is starting to get up there, except for our LGs and Aeons, which are Kennedy and Eisenhower. But that's a whole other issue.
And that's something that we need to address with ESSER funds as that approaches, is some of our aging HVAC stuff.
We did put a pretty good dent in that with the 2014 bond issue.
Yeah.
Particularly Washington, Kennedy, and Lincoln, you know, we put a
Well,
lot of,
Eisenhower
too.
and Eisenhower.
and humidity was a big part of
Yep.
Kennedy and Eisenhower.
Did we do something with the middle school, cause it seemed like
Part of the
so.
middle school, and then there's another part of the
In the
middle
middle
school that's
school.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't do much anything with this building, with the bond issue.
Right.
So, no, I agree, there's definitely potential for replacement with all that, so.
Okay.
Well, I just wanna keep looking at it. I mean, whether they're the people or not, we do need to do something and keep on top of it. I mean, I don't wanna just say, well, okay, let's don't go with them or whatever, and then it's off the agenda, because obviously there is a problem somewhere.
One thing that, I do remember from when, Rick and Larry were in, that we had talked about or inquired about, specifically here at the high school, is and I don't know the current status of it, and someone else reminded, but in the auditorium for the like stage lighting, has that been changed up to LED, do we know? Back to the stage lighting.
The actual stage, like, on the stage.
Uh-huh.
No.
The stadium seating has.
Okay. It's just a thought, I know the stage lights are like massive wattage for each individual light.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, some of them are like maybe 1,000 watts per light. And obviously it depends on how much they're on, when people are putting them on or whatever, but, I mean, it's something I know that was discussed clear back then, on trying to slowly rotate them out, but I just don't think it made any headway.
Remember, we also have DCS is working on a report of all of our facilities, so we'll see what that comes out.
No discussion on it? Okay. Good discussion. Appreciate everybody's comments. Guess the next thing on the agenda is the Chromebook bids.
Okay, so it's actually, what we're actually asking for is to approve the grant that we got. And it's called the ECF grant, sorry, I got the one. ECF grant. And it's for $229,400. And so we would like to purchase the Chromebooks that we would have already purchased, which would free up money for beekeeping, right?
Nice.
Or
Anyway, we're asking if you will accept this money.
So 229,000 is the grant. That's less than the total cost of the Chromebooks. Because it covered the student costs, but only 20,000 of the staff costs.
Well, there's a piece in the grant that says that only a certain amount of the staff Chromebooks, that's 400 per staff Chromebook, so that's still quite a bit.
It covered up to 400 per device, on the staff Chromebooks, is what the grant covered.
Okay. But they cost 500 and something.
Yeah.
But they covered most of it, okay.
are you looking at touchscreen?
The teachers are.
Yeah,
The teachers,
Not the
because it'd be
students.
so expensive to repair all of the
Oh,
student
yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
We could,
What's the age, our oldest Chromebook is how old that students are
Oh.
using?
Well, once we get these in, we're gonna retire, and we've already retired
Yeah,
several.
we just retired, our first big batch that we started the one-on-one with, this last summer. And we have 2 other models that are currently in the district. I'd have to look at they all have what's called an AUE, which is an auto update expiration date, which basically means when they'll stop getting updates from Google. And so when we're picking out new models, we try to get that date, as far back as we possibly can, just to keep a model as long as we can.
What's that mean? I just learned that. What's that mean exactly? That after they're so old, then Google won't update the settings.
Yep,
Okay, I didn't know that.
they'll still work, I mean, they'll still power on
Yeah.
and function, but, yeah, they'll just stop receiving security updates.
Okay. It's interesting.
So you can run them a little bit past that, but you don't wanna push them too high.
Right.
Sorry?
These are gonna cost us more than what we paid back in March. We bought 300 in March. And they were about $75 cheaper. Are these got a little more?
It's a newer model, it also is just, it's challenging to sometimes find a vendor that can quote a certain model of Chromebook. Some of them are, considered enterprise Chromebooks, and some of them are more on the consumer side. And, to find, there's certain vendors for the ECF funding, we had to have a quote, like, we can't buy them off of Amazon or something like that, I mean, we actually have to have a quote. And so to try to find a vendor that can quote it, I mean, sometimes, they are a newer model than we got though, to answer your question too.
Okay.
But it's also just challenging on some of the models to find as much vendors to quote them, just because they can.
And they are available, we can get them right away?
On anything, I don't know exactly, like when we would get them, but we would get them before the summer for sure. But I mean, on any of the tech stuff that we're looking at, it's just really hard to predict exactly when it's gonna come in. Whether it's some of the stuff we can get within weeks and sometimes it's months out, it's all over the place.
But you would be looking at deploying these next school year, right?
So, yeah, on the 600 student ones, 300 of those, we would be looking at putting in this school year. And that kind of, for the Chromebooks that we retired this last summer, that helps us bring the elementary numbers back up to where we like them to be, a little more comfortable. And then the 300 would be our normal rotation that we would typically order in the summer. And so we would use that this coming summer, and we wouldn't have to use regular district funds for that. We'd free those up for something else.
Any other discussion on that?
Sounds good.
How quickly, I mean, do you need a decision on that tonight? Or do
If
you-
the board's comfortable, I mean, it's a grant, so
Okay.
hate to pass that up.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I guess it's a compensation.
I move that we accept the grant from ECF. I read all of that before, but I didn't memorize it.
Okay, so a motion,
I'll second.
and a second, all those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Good deal. Next thing on the agenda is water fountains.
Yes.
Yes.
This is a.
There's a fan.
You haven't seen all those little kids at the water fountains.
So obviously with COVID funds, with ESSER funds, we are doing different projects across the district that address health and sanitation. One of those is replacing all of the water fountains with bottle fillers. All the students are using bottles and keeping bottles on their desk. And at this point, it's unsanitary to stick your mouth down on a spigot like we used to back in the day. And
Which
so,
was unsanitary.
yes. So at this point, we're looking at replacing all the rest of the district water fountains with bottle fillers. And so there are 3 quotes in your packet, and with Masco having the lowest quote, and so that is up for discussion, and the board can choose to approve that this evening, or we can bring it back to you next month.
I have 2 questions. The quote date on Masco is 8/20/21, and it says the quote's gonna expire on 9/19/21, so is it a good quote or not?
Yes, it is. I double checked on that.
Oh, I see it.
And then, do we know the timing to get the bottle filling stations in? Because on TMS, it said 8 to 10 week delivery. Ranger says 1 to 2 business days, but there's nothing on Masco.
It's the availability, and I can sure get that for you. I'm sure that it'll be available.
Because the difference is $169 from Masco to Granger, and for $169, we can get it within the week.
We can get it from Brady. Brady's one of our vendors, and so they can get it in for us.
What's that?
Brady is one of our vendors that we use on a constant, with all our sanitary products, and so, Robert was the guy, and he can get them for us.
I'm not following. Brady?
That's Masco, sorry.
Masco, I'm sorry. I thought so.
Brady took over Masco, sorry.
Okay,
Okay.
that's why I was wondering about the quote, because I didn't know about Masco.
Sorry about that.
So
You're pretty cool.
you're telling me we can get them within a week, is that what you're saying? Are you sure?
Yes.
Can I hold you to it?
Yes.
He
Okay.
knows where you live.
Yes.
Okay,
Hey Kelly, are these just bottle fill stations or is there?
They
is that all
have,
they are?
the regular one too, but you can shut it off.
That's what we did with our other ones.
And are these the ones, I assume some of these have filters in them?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
It's ones that we currently have installed right now as well.
Same filter?
Yeah.
Okay. We, at the city, we kind of took advantage of some ESSER funds, whatever the acronym was at that time, and put some of these out. But we've noticed we burn through the filters pretty quickly. I think it's just a count on the filter. You get X number of bottles and the filter's magically done, which probably isn't the case, but.
These ones, I believe, are 3,000 gallon filters.
Okay,
how much, how much it cost?
I don't. We haven't changed one yet, so.
Yeah, they last a long time. I believe, Chris, to answer your question, about $50 to $60. And of course, depending on where that fountain's located, like the ones outside the lunchrooms are gonna go through them a lot faster.
So you just reset the count.
Yeah, you just reset the count. Yeah. No, not really. Any other questions on the water fountains?
So do you-
Motion now.
Do you need it? Do you want a motion on that or?
If you wanna accept them tonight, then we'll get them ordered, and if you want to wait.
So that's always, it's in discussion items, so they're not, we can wait if we want to.
I was gonna make a motion that we get the water bottle thing as presented, water fountain,
From Masco or
yes.
Masco.
1,824.
I'll second.
Okay, does everybody know what the motion in the second is about? Make sure everybody's comfortable with what they're voting on. Okay, so all those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, same. Okay. Moving on, the WRC board member appointees.
Yes, Cody contacted me from the rec center, and they have, they're replacing 2 board members, which, as, through, our policies goes through, the USD 353, board to be approved. And so they are nominating, Irma Ratcliffe and, to come on to serve 4 years, and then, Hanky Holfelder to come back to serve another 4 years on the rec board. So that was up for discussion because it's the first time you've seen it. And then motion if you choose to.
I move that we accept Irma Ratcliffe and Mary Frances.
Second.
Okay, so one discussion thing that I'll just put out there. Every year since I've been on the board, I've asked that the board have a representation there since we're making the appointees, so just full disclosure, I wanna get that out on the table, so.
How's that gone? I mean, that's not a bad idea, I'm just,
It hasn't happened yet, so.
Somebody.
Have you
I'll keep making that recommendation.
have we approached have we approached the rec center and mentioned that? I'm just curious.
Well, don't they advertise, the city don't they?
Yeah, they advertise it, there's
And then
usually,
one of the board should just go and say, I'll serve.
I don't know that.
I don't think it's advertised.
I don't know that conversation has happened with Cody.
I've never seen it.
But I can
I
definitely.
mean, I'm sure.
I've heard that
everybody
before though, and I've heard that
loves.
comment.
I've
I
seen
don't know
that,
if it was
I've
from
never
you or
seen that.
whatever,
I
but
think it's just an appointee, that's why it's.
Well, but for many of the boards of the city, yes.
Is that I'll be happy to have a conversation with Cody on that.
Well, we got a motion and a second on the floor right now, so
Yeah.
we probably need to take action
Yeah,
on that.
take on that first and then I'll
I
ask.
wanna just make sure. So with the motion and the second on the floor, all those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Somebody get a count on that?
3 is 3.
3
I think we're 3 to 4,
Wait,
okay,
4-3.
4-3.
so it passed.
Okay, can I get a consensus on talking to Cody about a representative from our? Does that sound
On the-
It may just be me.
Just go right ahead, I'm all for you.
I'm good with it.
Since I'm not.
Yeah.
Board.
Okay, so moving on, USD 353 safety and operation plan.
Yes, that is an item tonight because we have put it on every month. That's what the board said they would come back and talk about each month, and so it is there available for you again. The district does not have any recommended changes, so it's just up for discussion.
I thought now might be a good time to discuss moving the elementary starting or drop-off times back where they used to be, which I'm not quite sure if that was 7:30 or,
Yeah, it was originally said.
was it 7:30? Yeah. We all got that letter, you know, and I wondered that myself actually, but
Yeah.
I didn't ever, you know,
Okay.
it doesn't affect me, so.
The 7:30, we've always had 7:30 as a drop-off time. That got moved to 7:50 whenever COVID came, just to keep, because traditionally, we don't get our teachers until 7:50 by contract. And so what we typically do in the elementaries in the morning is mass the kids together first thing. And I don't disagree with Pat at all. It is an inconvenience to parents. Our principals have, been flexible and tried to help families that did need help with that. But our plan is to go back to 7:30. The only reason that we have not at the elementary up to this point is because of the vaccination status. The 5 through 11 have not been approved. Parents have not been able to vaccinate their students yet, and so we have not gone back to that, mass entry in the morning. Based off of that, we feel that 7:30 is definitely appropriate and how it should be. Once parents can make that decision to vaccinate kids, but that's been the discussion up to this point.
We've had it at 7:50, I think, all through last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
been
it's,
a whole
you know,
time.
the purpose was to prevent a big
We were
crowd of
Yeah, but
kids.
now that we got the vaccine for 5 to 11, we should be able to.
Yeah, we just don't have that available in the community yet.
Yeah.
So once
Once
Like I
it's
said,
available.
once it's available in the community and parents can make that choice, then we were planning on going back anyway. So that's just where we're going at, so.
So it's on your radar.
Yeah, it has been.
Any other discussion with that? Okay. Let's head into action items. Ford Transit.
Yes, last month we brought you bids on Ford Transit and upgrading or ordering it to be built. So it'll be probably quite a while with the way things are going with anything right now before we get it. But had bids to you last month. Some additional information was requested on the local bid from Rainbow Ford, and so that was brought back to you and put in your packet. And so recommendation is to approve that bid this evening, if you are comfortable doing so.
Any discussion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the Ford Transit van from Rayber Ford in the amount of $34,825.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, same. Good.
Thank you. And that will be built, so like I said, it's gonna be.
Take a look.
Administrative reports.
All right. Anything you want to talk about?
Good. Okay. So we move on to executive session.
Make a motion that we go into executive session for 10 minutes to include Adam and the administrative team, to discuss non-elected personnel. The regular meeting will resume at 7:20 p.m.
Got a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, same. Where are we going now? Okay. Next thing on our agenda is the consent agenda.
Approve the minutes of the October 12th meeting, approve the payroll and bills, payroll $1,175,592.69, bills $693,629.14, transfers vocational $75,000, at risk $200,000, approve the green piano donation from Church United, approve Adam Hatfield for out-of-state travel to Nashville for AASA National Conference on Education, February 17th through 19th. Personnel, approve new hires, Halen Page, para, WHS, approve resignations, Wendy Goodrum, Director of Finance, Blake Bell, Assistant Wrestling Coach, WHS, Kaylee Swan, Assistant Softball Coach, WHS.
Good. Thank you, Shelby. So we got a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I move we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, same. Okay. Board member comments. We're gonna try something different. We're gonna actually kind of go around the room here. So we're gonna start with Masika.
I had the opportunity, Carol and I, to work at the spelling bee that was in Ann's several reports. That was really fun. We did last year. I enjoyed that. And I had several other things, but of course, maybe we'll go back around twice.
Our middle schooler won.
Yeah, no, Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Kennedy, yeah. No, she won't.
That's cool.
Oh, and the Honor Society thing I was at Sunday was really nice too. So, there were two different things.
Pleasure. I got a good program at Lions Club this week. Adam and Shelby, right?
No.
You're still coming, aren't you?
And Jen.
And Jen. Talking about restructuring, right?
Yep, the tour continues.
Tour. You have t-shirts.
Sell merchandise.
Tom?
Okay, Tom.
I thought it was, I didn't realize this until this, I hope I was paying attention and just missed it, but the Kennedy Garden, the amount of grants that we got for that, that was
That's
unreal.
pretty
Like,
cool.
that
That's
blew my
awesome.
mind, like $5,000 in grants for that thing, so that's great.
Looks awesome too, the work that's going on.
Yeah, it does. They did a nice
job
job
with it.
plotting it all out. And that'll be good for the whole community, not just for the
Yes.
school.
Go ahead, girl.
Oh.
Skip me. No, I'll come back.
Yeah, the kids
That's a
managed
flight
to do a
ticket.
really good job at the spelling bee, even though I, as the pronouncer,
I wasn't gonna
some
say that.
faults, you know. I enjoy it, I've done it for a long time, and I hope to continue to do it, because it's always fun and they do an awesome job. Yeah, there's so many neat things going on in the schools. I was just blown away by the, what the principals presented on their admin reports. Just pretty great. We're back.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm looking forward to the Veterans Day program this
Yeah.
week.
It's always good.
I know, I'm excited for that too.
And then, I'm happy the numbers are down on the masks, and no one's having to wear masks.
Elizabeth?
What? I know.
Come on,
I don't
Chris.
have anything today.
Little stag, you know.
I'm gonna be quiet.
So I too got to attend the Honor Society ceremony the other day. I guess it was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was good to see the parents and the number of kids. I think there was 20 plus kids newly inducted. And then it was good to see the support of the upperclassmen there to support them in that organization. So
It was Mrs. Chase's first year and she
Yeah.
did a
Yeah,
little
Linda
change up and
Chase's.
she did a really good job and she's got some good ideas for next time, so that was kind of cool too.
So I'll give props to Ms. Chase again. My daughter got the opportunity to go to the National FFA conference, which we approved. It was a great experience. So I think they're planning on coming and talking to the board.
Good.
I'm trying to, I hope they do that.
Yeah, I was hoping that they would.
But anyway, it was a great experience. So those kids really appreciated that, so.
I know you need to come back around because
Go ahead.
I forgot about Kennedy. I like all the new things that they've been noticed for. I think you sent us the clip before and then she sent it back out. So they've done a great, Julie has done a lot of good things over there.
Yes, John's great. That's great.
They all are.
I do have one thing.
Go for it, Chris.
Since I'm an ex-runner, I gotta give a shout out to the boys
yes.
cross-country team
Yes.
for making it this day.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact year
That you ran, or?
last time it was. It's been a long time, so
Long time.
gotta give a shout out to the boys.
Yeah.
Great job.
Got some great things there.
Anything else anybody wants to add? Okay,
I have, want
Yes.
to say something really quick?
closing comments there?
Yeah,
All
sorry,
right.
closing comments, that's what I should put on there. And I just wanna say that I really enjoyed that ending to the board meeting, I think that's great to recognize all the positive things. You know, we don't always get the positive things come our way, but with all the stuff we all deal with together, and so to hear those things is great, to recognize those things, and so it's very noticed and appreciated.
Wait, one more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
We need to recognize our new board member coming up
Yes.
in the audience here.
Yeah.
There she is back there.
There she is.
She'll be up here very soon.
I don't know which place she's taking, but congratulations.
Yes. And congratulations to Brandon, who's probably watching as well, I'm assuming. Want to thank Wendy for all of her work for the district for a lot of years now, and will be very missed. And we have a planning session that I talked to you guys about on November 23rd, which we moved that to a Tuesday. I didn't hear back from anybody that was bad, so we will have it that evening at 6 o'clock. It's just a planning session, so we'll just do that at central office. And then on December 2nd, I will go with our 2 new board members to Derby for new board member training, so they can start getting into all those crazy things that we do every day. So those things are coming up prior to the December meeting.
You mentioned earlier about the special meeting November 23rd, you mentioned earlier that, I don't know if it was the air, you know.
Oh, the technology.
Because it was just about the redesign, so are you adding that?
Yes, we added the audit, because that's the night Harold could come.
Yeah.
Not for any approval, but just to hear about it initially. And then we also added we're gonna add a little piece on technology to continue that, like I said earlier, with what Dr. Kern said.
And that's at 6.
That's a 6.
I thought I
And
missed
then
that too.
we'll discuss restructuring that night as well.
They're gonna be at district office.
So, it's just be a planning session, so. Just getting information.
Are we gonna try to have our meetings here? This was nice.
We can.
Yeah, this was really nice.
Everybody like this?
Yeah.
It's better than the boardroom.
Yeah.
If the little theater doesn't
You
work.
guys wanna do a planning session here on
I hate
the
that.
23rd?
You know, I don't think the planning session, I think I'd be okay at the district office.
Yeah.
Yeah, central
Yeah, but
office.
a regular meeting where you've got people.
Yeah, this was a
great.
good setup,
Yeah,
good setup.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's come back here then, and let's just stay here then, and then we can always mix it up if we want to.
I like it.
Works.
Was it convenient for the admin as
Yeah,
far
no,
as,
that's fine.
don't wish you had, okay.
Zach will be fine.
Whether he likes it or not,
Okay,
it's
is
fine.
that it, Al? Okay, we're adjourned.